Selamat datang ke ASM Podcast yang dibawakan khas oleh Akademi Sains Malaysia. Siri podcast ini merupakan platform perkongsian topik-topik berkaitan sains, teknologi, inovasi dan ekonomi STIE secara santai dan mudah difahami. Setiap episod akan menampilkan jaringan pakar ASM yang akan berkongsi pengalaman dan pendapat mereka tentang STIE seiring dengan etos ASM. Budayakan sains, raikan teknologi, cetuskan inovasi.
Assalamualaikum and good day. Welcome to the ASM podcast. My name is Hani, your host for today. On today's episode, we will talk about the evolution of the library and librarian roles in a data-driven society, especially with the help of open science. Open science is a global effort of ensuring no one is left behind through making scientific knowledge more accessible. The international principle of open science promotes accessibility by making knowledge findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. Fair. In the ecosystem of research and open science, the library and librarians play an important role. Today, we have together with us Mr. Muhammad Ikhwan Ismail, a Senior Librarian from Universiti Sains Malaysia, USM, to talk more on the shift of these roles in a data-driven world, especially with the growing focus on open science. Mr. Ikhwan is also a Certified Data Steward that is involved actively in the Malaysia Open Science Initiative. Welcome, Mr. Ikhwan, to this podcast.
Thank you.
Before we begin, can you please tell the audience a little bit about your background and experience as a librarian in Malaysia?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and salam sejahtera to everyone. First of all, thank you Puan Hani, and also I would like to say thank you very much to the ASM and WSP for inviting me in this podcast session. Actually, I am very honoured to come here and then to share my perspective as a librarian about these topics about the open science and so on. Then we can discuss further for this afternoon. Just little bit my background. Actually, my first degree not in the library science. My first degree is Islamic Living Knowledge and Heritage, majoring fiqh and usul fiqh. Okay, then I continue my study in the Master in Library and Information Science in the same university, International Islamic University of Malaysia. And then I got offered from the private college as a librarian, just few months, then continue actually to another offer from USM since 2007 until now. So it's more than 15 years as a librarian. So my profession as a librarian is more in the reference and research division, involved in the training, consultation about the publication data management for research assessment, and then also I involved in the certain I can say more to the like research area, research support services, including now I'm in the we call as a research data management division. So we have three core roles and responsibility. The first one is the publication data management for the research assessment like Myra and so on. The second one is the research data management services, and then the third one is the open science. So that is my little bit background. So now my focus and also my division is focused on these three core roles and responsibilities.
So, thank you, Mr. Ikhwan, on the introduction. Moving on to our topic today. So, let us introduce open science a bit more to our audience. From your experience, Mr. Ikhwan, what is open science and how did you find yourself in the movement?
Okay, open science, when we look at the definition of open science, they have many definitions actually. But the understanding of the open science is simple. So we want to make the scientific research, including the research data, including the publications, even methodologies, we want to make it open, visible, and also transparent. That is very important. In other words, we want to democratize the knowledge actually. Open science is not, sometimes at the first place before this, sometimes the researchers, even the librarians, think that open science science is for the science field only, research field only.
Understood.
But actually, it is not for the science research field.
Yep.
Subject. It is more than that. It's because science is knowledge actually. Open science, open knowledge and so on. Okay, so that's why when Puan Hani also mentioned about FAIR principles, right? Findable, accessible, interoperable, reusable. It can also be applied to the research data, publication, methodology and so on. So when we look at this open science, it is very big concept actually. There are many elements under open science. So if we look at the open science, it is like umbrella. Under umbrella, they have a lot of the elements of the open science. But in my experience, actually, open science, the terminology open science begins in year 2020. It is because of the initiative by ASM actually, Academy Sains Malaysia, under in the MOSP, Malaysia Open Science Platform. That is the trigger all the researchers and also the librarians about the terminology of open science. Open science, something like this, like this, like this. But actually, in reality, even researchers and librarians actually have started the practices of the open science since many years ago, 2015, something like that. Because in the, as I remember 2015, 14, something like that. We have at that time we have the budget constraints, okay, financial constraints to subscribe the publisher, the databases to access the publications, article, journals and so on. At that time, they triggered the librarian especially because we want to ensure the continuous providing the library services to our researchers to access the journal articles. Then we found that actually we have the open access publications models actually. They mean when we go to the any, for example, before this, traditionally, we only go to the certain databases and then we find the articles. But when with the open access, actually we can find the articles first, then we know, oh, this is from this publisher, because open access article can be indexed in many platforms actually, in the Google Scholar, Dimensions, connected papers and so on. Okay, so at that time we provide the awareness, create the awareness to all researchers because of the financial constraint at that time. So we want to researchers still can get the journal articles from the open access publications. Okay, so they can access to the any platform, then they straightly can get the PDF. So in other words, here I want to stress here actually, we already involve or participate in the open science initiative actually, but at that time we don't know, we don't call this
call
is the open science or so when we come to 2020, so open science is play around our in our library, in our country and so on. So we look at that, oh, actually open access publication is a part of the open science.
Yeah.
So involvement, actually I believe that most librarians involved before many years ago actually, then we already on track lah actually. We already know the open science, then we can easy to understand what is the open science actually for this particular elements, initiative, benefit and so on.
Okay. Understood. Yeah, that's what some researchers commented also. They say they don't know about open science, but when we ask, are you involved with open access? They say yes. They don't know that is one of the elements of open science.
Yes.
Is there any other open science element that you dealt with as a librarian in your daily task?
Yes. Actually, as a librarian, actually, it is similar situation with the open access publication, open access publishing. We involve that, we can say that we provide the services like training, consultation, the platform and so on for the open access publication. Open access is synonym with publication, but open access actually can be synonym with other things. Open. For example, in the library, actually we also provide promote the open source software. Okay. Because of the trigger also from the financial constraint. Before this, our university researchers, they always use the one citation management tools that we must pay for for if you want to use that particular tools. But when we do have we did something like they have no budget that, so we look at the open source software. So we go to the citation management tool that we call Mendeley. Until now, I think majority of the researchers in my university use this software. So no need to pay. So they actually, if you want to pay for another tool, maybe it costs in the USD. But now, no need to pay anything. It is free. Is it open? Okay, so they will help the researcher to do the citation management all the way when they want to write the paper. Researcher, for example, postgraduate, master PhD, want to write the thesis. Okay, so another open source software that we familiar with, and also the researchers, the open source software we call it as when they want to analyze the bibliometric data, bibliometric analysis. Okay, we have the voice viewer. It is free, open. You just use that software. You can get from that particular website, download and then install. You can analyze the data. The second one, for the citation metric, you can use Hazing, Publish or Perish. And then you want to advance the statistical data, that programming with like the big data and so on. You can use the R software or Python software. This is a free open source software. You can cater all the big data. You can do the analyze, manipulation, and also visualize the data. It is free. So I also know that some librarians in Malaysia also, they have expertise in using this R software and also the Python software. So they provide to the researchers, their researchers can use this software. Then librarian also as a trainer for this software. Okay. The other thing I want to add is the open education resources. Even my university, USM, have started actually involve and participate in the massive open online courses that it is free to learn the modules, for example, information literacy skills and also publishing strategy. So they have available in the website, in our USM website lah. Okay, so it is open education resources also is a part or elements under open science. Okay, and the other thing I want to share is the citizen science. It was happened last year that we involve with the researchers. We help them, support them to collect data through the citizen science project. We collaborate with the School of Biology, Biological Sciences, and also CGSS, one of the research institute in USM. So collect the biodiversity data, like plants, animals, insects, everything around the 3 campuses of USM. Then at the end of the event, they have the huge number of the data. Then they can do the analysis and also get to provide the finding and result. So we as a library happy to support them in the citizen science project. So this is, I can say, the involvement, the participation of the library in the open science initiative within the USM.
So now even society can contribute to science directly, not just...
Yes, true.
In your years as a librarian, what is your opinion on the role of librarians in the research life cycle? From, for example, the 2000s versus now, and has open science given an impact on this role, if any?
Okay, I joined as a librarian in USM is 2007. So I thought the library is only provide the scholarly resources, assessing researchers to get the resources, and then managing the physical collections. But when you go to after 2000, 15, 16, now over then 2020, they have many digital collections, e-books, data could be many data, research data and so on. So when we look at this, the librarians actually must play a very proactive action actually to ensure that we also can provide more because of this expansion of the digital era. For example, we must have, now we have before we have a physical collection, now we have the digital collection. So because the research data nowadays, our researchers they collect data mostly in the digital collection.
Yep.
For example, interview, they transfer all, they use the like video, audio, and then they transfer to the transcript. Even transcript, they do in the digital form. In the Microsoft Word, maybe they use the another software and so on. So all in digital. Even the survey also, they use the Excel, Google Form, Microsoft Form and so on. So all in the digital, not in the printed version. So that is why that we must have the shift our roles, shift our something like our responsibility and our style actually, to ensure that we can provide the services to support our the trend of the research activities. Okay. So research life cycle. When we talk about research life cycle, I also look at, for example, I want to share the example of the research life cycle synchronized with the research data life cycle. Okay. Because when I mentioned just now, all the research data could be in the digital. So how they manage their research data, then when they manage their research data, at the same time, actually, they also manage the research life cycle. Okay, for example, when they collect the data, okay, in the research life cycle, they have one element is data collection.
Okay.
So, in the research data life cycle, when we synchronize it with the research data life cycle, that means we collect the data. When they collect the data, where they want to store, where they want to document the data, how they organize the data, all this in the research data life cycle. That means when you do the research life cycle, you also do the research data life cycle. So we as a librarian, we should ensure that the researchers can run the activities of the research life cycle and also research data life cycle. That means we can expand our services. Okay, for example, okay, in USM, for example, okay, when they ask about the data storage, where they want to store, so that's why we have class Google Drive. So we can ask them to store their research data in cloud storage. For example, Google Drive, and then it is free. If you want to have more storage, you just pay lah, kan? But this is the time for the librarian in this era to ensure that they can provide more services. Okay, so that's why I can say that the activities of the open science, promoting open science through research data management activities, because in the research data life cycle also have the open science elements. Okay, for example, I just mentioned you just now, you can go to the cloud storage, which is free. If you want to do the data analysis, okay, in the research life cycle, we have data analysis. In the research data life cycle, also have the data analysis. So, what is the open science element can be associated with that particular element? We can look at the data analysis tool that I mentioned just now. If they want to data analysis, go to the Python, Voice Viewer, and so on. Then end up they want to preserve, they want to share the data, so we have the repository, open data repository. So they can publish the finding and result, and also they can publish their research data through the we call data sharing or open data, and then they can use our library repository, open data repository. So that is a simple, I think, example that we actually having changed our role, traditional role, to the new role actually here, focus on the open science initiative.
So what are some of the challenges that you and the library has been facing to implement open science?
Okay, when we talk about the challenges, of course they have a lot actually. Okay, because the first thing challenges is the cultural change actually. Okay, not in terms of the librarians, but in terms of our researchers, how the multiple perceptions, conceptions of the researchers to our services, especially for the open science. So how we want to change it, to engage with researchers and so on. And the other challenges is about the acceptance of this open science, even librarian itself, okay? Because not all librarians can accept this open science, maybe because of they lack of skills and knowledge. Okay, so that's why these are good challenges. All these challenges are good because that triggered us to we can promote and continuous to create the awareness and so on about the open science. Infrastructure, resources, technology, staff is very important. That without the technology, infrastructure, staff, and also financial, we cannot do more lah. Actually, if we have the infrastructure and resources, this kind of the financial is better lah. Okay, skills and knowledge I mentioned just now. Limited support is very important from researchers. Our main stakeholder in the university is the researchers. If we don't cater, if we don't engage with the research, to understand about the open science, I think they did not support us as the library, as the research support unit. Okay, and also the other department lah. For example, if we want to develop the repository, we must have for example, the support from the IT unit. If you want to communicate with researchers, actually, sometimes we must through the RMC, okay, Research Management Center, because they always give the instruction everything to our researchers. And then the last one is about policy and advocacy. Sometimes no policy, no talk, something like that. Okay, but actually we don't care about that. Actually, not I say don't care, but we try to encourage our researchers. Even we don't have yet the policy, but we educate them what is the benefits of the open science and so on.
Yeah,
okay?
because you can still go with the practices even though there is no policy on it.
Yes.
So how can libraries contribute to building communities around open science initiatives, and what are some of effective strategies for fostering collaboration and knowledge sharing among researchers?
Okay. So library actually, if we go to any previous literature, many literature that discuss about what is the role of the library in the open science is RDM and so on. Library actually is similar. Actually, they are sitting together with the RMC, IT unit and so on, because we are research support units, our research support departments within the university. So the first one, library, as always the place to provide the seminar, training, symposium and so on, to raise the awareness about the open science and so on. So it is happened also in my university. That is the first thing that we did is we raise the awareness through the webinars and also the symposium to our research community. And then we invite the experts, the speakers from the other countries also, and also within the country. And also we can also provide the resources related to open science, for example books, journals, everything. But just now, last 2 weeks, we have the book exhibition, so we can buy the book. So library also have given the opportunity to buy the book. So I try to find anything about the open science. So I take any books and then to put in our book collection. Okay, and then hosting the research community platform. This is very important. Now we have the open data at USM, or we call open data repository. So any researchers can share their research data, and then this is open. So anybody, researchers in our university, even other university, can refer to this research data. So this platform is very important, and we are planning, inshallah, for future, we have the platform just not share research data, but share everything, their thought, their ideas and so on. That platform is based on our library. Okay, that's all.
Okay. Also, Ikhwan, many researchers mention plagiarism and the fear of being scooped as their reason for not sharing research data, and it is a relevant issue. But how can libraries promote ethical research practices in the context of open science and to overcome this? Okay,
when we talk about the openness, they always relate to the ethical issue. Okay, so I have experience. Maybe my approach is not very good at that time because I'm still very new. I asked one professor Prof, do you know that we must share the data? I straightly said like that. So he replied to me, I don't think the researchers will share the research data. So because why? Because they think about the ethics. But actually, if we want to approach the researcher, actually we must ensure that we must to ensure the misconception about the open science to be resolved lah. For example, for example, we know the concept of open science as open as possible, as close as necessary. Yes, actually they think everything this data cannot be open. Why? Because this is my data, my data, so anyone cannot do the plagiarism, the copy the data and so on. But actually, the concept of open science is the open as possible, close as necessary. What is the close as necessary? Close like sensitivity data, security data, related to religious culture, sometimes security and safety of country. Close. But anything that can benefit to our community, why not you share the data, open the data? So openness, actually not openness relate to the, yes, ethics is there. Ethics must be there, okay? But when we discuss about the openness, actually it's more we discuss about the transparency actually. Okay, the misconception that regarding open science, everything is free accessible, only that thing. In reality, actually we not just open that, we want to ensure that data or our research is they can open in terms of data sharing, open methodologies and open peer review and so on. Okay, all these are under open science because we want to more transparent, accessible and reproducible. Okay, misconception is about the quality. When we open, they will undermines the quality, the research. Actually not. In reality, to help identify and reduce bias, errors and also irreproducibility in the research. Okay, because open we know lah. Okay, this is to avoid reduce the error, reduce the bias, and also they will avoid the actually duplicate of research. Okay, another misconception is open science only relevant for the certain discipline. As I mentioned before, open science is for all subjects. Okay, not only for the science. And then one more issue of the ethics is misconception of open science is open science leads to loss of intellectual property and commercialization opportunities. For your information, if you open your data, for example, you can use the Creative Commons license. Okay, they have 7 types. You can choose CC BY 4.0 and so on. Okay, you are protected actually. And then even if you want to do the commercialization, you also can patent it. Okay, it is not just for. Don't worry, library will have the researchers to, we can say, regarding for this issue. Okay, and also the first 2015 when we look at the open access, always relate to the open. When if you want to publish in open access journal, that means we publish in predatory journals. Okay, so the misconception that very quite
relevant in the research community.
In the research community said, okay, if you publish in the open access public journals, that means you publish in the predatory. So this is the misconceptions at the beginning. But now they understand, they know, because we create the awareness, everything, then they know that the situation is that actually the predatory journal is not under open science initiative. It is not under open science principle. Predatory journal is more like to the profit. It is not concerned about the quality of research and so on. Okay, so this is my answer for this. About it, if we cater all these things, so inshallah the no problem is about ethical research practices.
Okay, Encik Ikhwan, in this fast-paced world of data, what skills should be instilled in librarians to assist and improve the research ecosystem?
Okay, for the skills should be for the librarian. Actually, simple. The first thing in the open science, they have, because nowadays is many talk about the open science initiative because of the many focus on the research data. Open data sharing has been discussed by many research community around the world. Okay, so they must have the basic data management skills. Okay, for librarian, data management in terms of the data management, metadata management, research skills, they also must know the research life cycle from beginning until at the end of the output of that research. So they know, at least they know lah. For example, the basic things. Okay, for the data methodology, for example, what is the qualitative, what is the quantitative, at least they know what is the type of the research data they can produce, collect, and so on. Okay, and also the policy documentation skill. That means they know about how to develop the policy regarding to the open science research data and so on. Okay, one more thing is the communication skill. Okay, communication. Yes, I know everyone have the communication, but once you facing our researchers, so we must have the good communication skill. Okay, it is not just communicate, but negotiation. Negotiation skill you must have. Like negotiation lah. They mean how to approach our researchers. Okay. Do you know the library have this kind of the services? We have the open data repository. Remember, I told to the one professor, the researcher must share the data. Actually, that's not correct approach. Actually, we must have the introduction. We must something that we must have the proper words, proper sentence to approach them, to invite them to join our library services. Especially for example, open data repository. That is very important. Teaching skills and also technical skills is very important. Even we have the supporter from the ICT unit, IT unit, but we must know also in terms of because when we, as I mentioned, digital era, digital collection, they have involved many about the infrastructure in ICT infrastructure, for example, repository, system, and so on. So ICT skill is very important, repository. And the last one for me, copyright and intellectual property. Okay, because this is always that regular usual questions that rise when they meet the librarians. Okay, if I share the data, so how about my data? Is it safe? Is it protected? And so on. So we must answer this question with our skills. We must know what is the copyright and what is IP, intellectual property. Okay?
Okay, and the last question of the day, Ikhwan. How do you see the future of librarianship and the open science ecosystem in the short term and the long term?
Okay, for the short term, your question, we can categorize with two categories.
Two aspects.
First, short term, for the long term. Short term, I list out the first one is the capacity building among the librarians. Capacity building is very important. Capacity building, not just skill and knowledge, but also our human resources. That resources that can be utilized for the providing the best services for our researchers for the open science. For example, open data repository, consultation, training, and so on. But before that, capacity building of the library must be developed first. Capacity is in terms of especially skill and knowledge, something like that. Okay, all right. The second one, initiate the RDM services, because I mentioned just now, we can promote RDM through the open science practices. Actually, RDM and open science, it is interrelated. I want to stress here, RDM and open science is not similar, but many elements in RDM, research data management, can be related with the open science elements. Okay, all right. So RDM services can be foster to the open science practices. The third one, expansion of library services. We have many library services that we have today. Okay, reference and research services and so on. So now we focus on the digital literacy, okay, the data literacy and so on. Okay, then in the short term, librarian also can do the eliciting the behavior of researchers. We must understand the current practices of the researchers according to the open science practices. How they do the open access publishing, how they do the citizen science project, how they do. So we can do through the survey, interview, and so on. We can do the study, just simple study. Okay, and then you can do also the engagement with researcher on open science practices. Example like research partnership. we can engage the researcher and then do the partnership. Maybe you can be as the supporter, then you can also involve. And in my experience, I also involve with the research team, with the researchers about the bibliometric study. Then I provide them the open source software like WasReviewer and Hazim Publish Perish to do the data analysis and visualization. So we can do that. The simple thing that actually we have the existing expertise there. So why not we contribute to our researchers? Okay, for the long term, the first one is the institutionalization of open science practices in our institution level. So we look at the lower level until at the upper level. That is very important. We must have the culture, have the policy, and also the infrastructure. Okay. The second one is the institutional partnership. Institutional partnership, I focus to among other departments. Among departments in our university, for example, we must have the collaboration with the IT unit, not competition, but collaboration. Okay, because library cannot work with isolation. We cannot do by ourselves only, but we must have the collaboration from our other department, IT, legal, ethics committee, RMC, and other department. Okay, the last one is a global collaboration and knowledge sharing. That means we can collaborate with other university. We other that things that we did actually in USM. We collaborate. We have friends in Netherlands. We have friends in the Singapore and so on. They already practice the open science and very good in practicing in the open science, and also they provide the services about the open science. They have many experience about this. So we invite them, we collaborate them. Please share their knowledge and their skills, everything to our library committee and also research community. So this thing, I think we can go to global. We go to the global collaboration to ensure that what they can actually, if we read the literature in the UK and US, the situation at the beginning still same like us actually, but they have an experience. So why not we learn from them?
Yeah.
So this is very important. The short term and long term initiative actually for the librarian, and also the open science.
We are also hoping for open science to blossom in the future, hopefully.
Inshallah.
To conclude this podcast for today, we can see that the library and librarians play an important role in the research ecosystem. Open science is a good step towards advancing knowledge and bridging the gap of communities in this growing data-driven world. Members of the audience, we have come to the end of the podcast episode. I would like to thank you, Mr. Ikhwan, for joining us today. And for our listeners, I hope this session has been beneficial, and please visit the MOSP platform at mosp.gov.my and follow us for latest updates on open science. Assalamualaikum and have a great day.